Hey everyone, this is Ryan Hillard with Thrive Mortgage, and I am here today with Dejerae Trujillo of Remax Urban Properties. And just like we do every week, I get lucky enough to be able to sit down, talk to some great people in the real estate industry here in Denver, and have a lot of fun, different conversations. And I'm always excited for every single one of them, but especially today because we're gonna, hey Mealy, we're gonna be talking about something that a lot of people try to do effectively, and I don't think they give up on it, and that's really how to grow a team, but also how to use social media to their advantage. And Dejerae crushes it on social media, and so I'm excited for that conversation. But before we really get there, let's just start out like we always do with a little bit of the background stuff. So why don't you tell us about yourself and who you are, how you got into real estate?
Awesome. Yeah. Obviously, my name is Dejerae. I am a Denver native. I'm 27. Been in real estate for it'll be 5 years in October.
Goes quick.
It really does. And I'm a single mom working at Remax Urban Properties now, and I own my own team. So
yeah,
I'm co-owner of my own team.
Right. And who's the other co-owner?
Michael Munoz.
We'll give Michael a little bit of a shout out too. So we can't forget him. We don't want to get in trouble. How we were talking a little bit before, how did you get into real estate?
So it was kind of by accident, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I had a friend that was he owned a bunch of liquor stores and he was selling and buying more. And he said, hey, like, you're super smart. Why don't you get your real estate license and I'll use you for my deals. And they were like $4 million deals. I was like, great. Like, yeah. I'm going to be a millionaire for like no reason. And we ended up not doing any of those deals, but then I happened to have my license. So then I started doing residential and actually just fell in love with the business. So yeah. It worked out really well.
Yeah, because a lot of people, initially think like, and let me start that over. A lot of people kind of always think like, oh, I've had this wonderful love for architecture or design. And it's not that that was ever absent, that feeds into it later. But, it's also okay to start things that, a lot of us fall into things that they totally make sense in retrospect, and it's a place that we should be. Absolutely. It's just we didn't know that that's what we were pursuing at the time.
I actually I was going to school for English. So totally different field, but then I realized real estate is way more money.
That's all right. I at one point considered being a teacher as well. And, instead I ended up with a double major in finance and marketing and a master's in finance.
See, that's so different.
Yeah.
Being a teacher is cool. I was a poet.
Okay.
Don't know what I was planning. I was also a kid, so I don't know what I was going to do with that. But I have really good listing descriptions now. So
totally. Do you keep still like a journal of poetry? Do you still write poetry? No.
My life is surrounded by houses and contracts. Nobody wants to read poetry about contracts.
The listings, there's always a joke of I was going to sell my house until I read the description that the real estate agent made, right? And so now I decided that I love it. It's a perfect place I want to stay here. So are you a grammar snob?
No, not as much anymore. I used to be when I was younger.
Okay. I as one who may be a little bit, I always have to ask. I need to know who my audience is. But enough on that. When you're going through the process, what are some of the things that that you've learned that a buyer should really start expecting as the level of service that you provide? So how do you prepare buyers and sellers for this market?
So I'm definitely the type of person that over prepares, mostly because I work with a ton of first time home buyers, being that I'm so young,
Yep.
And so I have a very set a very set of processes of here's exactly what you're going to expect, communication, and I do everything up front rather than, I'm not the kind of agent that's going to show you a house without bringing you in and sitting you down, and we're going to talk about it, go over the process, go over documents and stuff, and then we'll get to the house showing, because as much as I love to look at houses, I also want you to be fully prepared.
Yeah. Well, I think that's really important, because I think that is that something that you have grown into? In other words, when you were starting out, were you doing that from the beginning?
No, it's sort of definitely something I've grown into. I think it's all a process. At first, I was kind of running around like a chicken with my head cut off the first year, but it's it's something I kind of do for myself because I'm the kind of person that has to know everything. So then if I have a client that says something like, "Oh, what's earnest money again?" I'm like, the fact that I didn't tell you that in the beginning drives me crazy.
Right.
So I'm the kind of person that has to over prepare. And I think it's beneficial for both of us, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that that's, I have a saying around here that I say all the time. I've said it on my Facebook Lives before. In order to be competitive, you need to be prepared. And even though we've seen a little bit of a softening in the market, it's still a really competitive market out there. All we've done is we were going 100 miles an hour before. We're still going 65, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like we're at a standstill here.
Exactly.
And so how do you prepare them up front? Helps them enter the market, helps you deliver a level of service.
Exactly.
What effects, as you've implemented and integrated that more into your system, have you noticed a change in how you are able to guide people through the process?
Absolutely. And I think it makes the entire process much easier. I think I've noticed if I don't do all that, then I spend a lot more time, like with buyers, for instance, I'm looking at 100 homes, what I mean? Whereas if I could sit down and clearly identify what it is you're looking for, what we're looking to do, the process, it cuts down the homes a ton,
Yep, totally.
So, which is beneficial for everybody because we all save more time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the time is money, right?
Yeah.
We can always make more money. We can't get more time.
Exactly.
So that's a little bit on the buyer side. What about somebody that, because you're an agent, you work on both sides. I know that over time you want to move your side to more of the listing side, but you're not full. You're still doing both sides, right? Are there things that you do differently for people that are looking to sell their home? So how do you prepare them for that process?
So I mean, it's the same sort of process, and I actually got a lot of processes from Sotheby's. They have really, really good marketing, and they have a really good system that they use in order to, send you out on those presentations. So
totally.
That I definitely prepare as much, and the marketing is my favorite part of my job. So that's kind of what you could expect is, social media, and the best that I could do and make it look pretty basically is what I'm gonna do. I love throwing parties and that sort of thing. So
well, and you said something too that hey Lisa, you said something when we were having breakfast a little while back that I'm trying to remember it now. When you were at Live for a while, what was something like luxury is an experience.
Oh yeah,
right?
I always say luxury is an experience, not
right.
a price point.
Yeah, and so I mean I think that's I know a lot of Live agents. I've not heard that from the other Live agents saying that before, but I think that's really, really applicable that, of just, it's all about the experience, whether they're, going through the buying or selling side with you, whether they're going through the loan process with me, whether they're, whatever it is, whether they're the moving company that they use, it's all the experience that we set up for them.
Yeah.
And how we get into that. So part of the experience that you're going through right now is you're in the process of growing a team.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So how's that going? Why did you want to start a team? Where do you see it going?
It's going really good. It's kind of been a learning experience to say the least. I've never had a team before, but I absolutely love it. I have 2 girls that work with me right now, and it's been great. We're creating sort of an environment that works for everybody, so it's me, Michael, Marla, and Laura.
Yep.
And I mean, you've been to one of our meetings. We have children running around, and but I guess my biggest thing is giving the girls the opportunity to show them that you can balance life and family, being a single mom. So I have my son 24/7, and sometimes it's rough because I want to give him the best life possible,
Right.
but I also don't want to, I struggle with okay, well, how do I balance him and work, but make it to where it all works out, you know? So, and I think I found some pretty good ways. I mean, from marketing to the school and being involved in that thing. And so it's been interesting sharing that with other parents, and how you can balance the 2 lives.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things that I noticed too when I was there, like you said, there were the kids that were running around, and it's, it's certainly not a distraction to the meeting. I know other people that'd be like, quiet, go over, just go play. Right.
Well, I think also when it's just parents that are in the room, we're all used to tuning the kids out as well. So. But
yeah, well, and it is very conducive, and I think that it hits on a side of you that maybe not everyone always sees, right? So, obviously you are a single mother, and one of the other gals on your team is a single mother as well. of just like being able to be a little bit mother hen and
Yeah,
like you can't, like you said, you can have a successful career
exactly.
and being able to show your son like what hard work looks like, what hard
Exactly.
work looks like.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
You know, one of the things, well, I already know the answer to this question, but how did the girls on your team find you?
They found me on Instagram actually.
Yeah.
I had Marla actually reached out years ago, but I couldn't create a team at Sotheby's, and I get so many messages. I feel so bad. I must have just not responded, but then when I said I was building a team, she reached out again, and she was like, "Love to come." So that's how she came, and then Laura as well. She found me on social media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, there have been others. What's up, Andre? There have been others that have reached out as well.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. So we've gotten quite a few leads for people on our team. I'm trying to build things slowly. Like I said,
Yeah.
it's all a learning experience, and so I want to be able to provide the best service to everybody that can come work for me, And so I want to kind of get the processes down and everything before we take on more agents. But it's definitely been cool.
Yeah. So one of the reasons that I already knew that they reached out to you on Instagram, but it also goes to kind of where we're going with this conversation of, hey Jorge, how you're using social media. Like, not everybody is just getting people to reach out to them on on social media. So before we kind of get all the way into it, how long have you been using social media, and why did you get started with that as a platform?
So I started about a year into my business, and I'm a millennial, so I've always been on social media. I think I had
Just couldn't help yourself.
Yeah. So I had about 1,000 followers when I stared,
Uh-huh.
and then when me and Michael actually started this together.
Yeah.
And so we decided to switch it over. I read a book by like Frederick Eklund, and everybody in New York was doing it. So I was like, why aren't we utilizing this here in Denver? And we kind of have a different market here. We're not as like flashing crazy.
Right.
So, but I was like, but I feel like it would work. So then I started that and just took off running.
Frederick Eklund Eklund, I can't say his name. Frederick Eklund being one of the real estate agents on $1 Million Listing New York with him on Bravo, right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
one does like a, so do you have a high kick that you do or whatever he
No.
does or whatever, just like your little screechy thing?
No.
No? Okay, fair enough. Felt like I had to ask.
No, I can't stand, I won't fit in these shoes, so. Or maybe I would.
Right? But so, you started out with 1,000. Now how many followers do you have on Instagram?
I am just under 25,000.
Right. So that's obviously a lot of followers.
Yeah.
What's that?
Is that
Decent? Yeah. Well, I mean, I as a guy with 400 followers,
I'm
right?
like, no Frederick Eklund. So.
Right. So how many does he have? Do you know?
No,
Yeah.
I think it's like over 1 million.
Which
something
is
crazy.
Insane.
Yeah.
You'll see even for someone like Brian Sirhan, and it's just he'll put something out there and it just lights up automatically.
Exactly.
But why did you start using it as a platform?
Well, I think I realized the audience potential, and I figured if these people could do it, I could do it, as well as I didn't have a ton of marketing money in the beginning.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm a single mom,
Yep.
So I'm like, I don't have the means to go throwing crazy parties and sending out mailers all of Denver. So
Totally.
it was a free platform, you know what I mean? It's very visual too. So it's free. I could express myself as a person and market at the same time. So
Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, and I think that's, that kind of answers a question that we have a little bit later on of what advice do you give, but we'll get there. But you can use it and you can have huge impact to the audience that you want, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right away.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think anybody that's out there that it really should be one of the legs of a marketing platform.
No, absolutely.
What are some of so let's also talk about your brand, right? So your brand on Instagram is selling in stilettos.
Correct.
So, which I love, and you thought of that in the middle of the night.
Yeah, and changed it immediately. I was half asleep, woke up, and I was like, oh, that's great. And I changed it right away because in my head, I'm like, you have to snag names. So I looked it up and it was available and I was like, great, changing my name.
Yeah. And so, but what does that mean? So why, obviously it spoke to you enough to be able to like, I need to do this right now.
Yeah.
What about it was it that?
Well, it kind of goes along with the backstory of my Instagram. So I've always, it's definitely been a learning process. Like I haven't
Totally.
had it all dialed down the entire time. So I went from too personal and I went to too business. I went through a period where like I only posted houses because I didn't want like cute pictures of me. I didn't want that on there. So then I was like just that. And then this past couple, it's about a year and a half, I've been really like integrating more of myself into business stuff. And anybody that knows me knows I love shoes, you know, and fashion. So then it just seemed to work. I mean, those are two major points in my life, fashion and selling real estate.
And selling, yeah.
And it just sounds cool. So.
Well, I think there's also an undertone of it too, of like sales sometimes, unfortunately, like, and you can tell me if you agree or not, but sales sometimes has a little bit of a dirty connotation to it, right? And so it's like, listen, we can take this sales or selling, but we can do it at a really high level.
Yeah.
And we can do it, you know, it doesn't need to be a bad word. It doesn't need to be an ugly job.
Exactly.
It can be pretty, it can be sexy, it can be fashionable, it can be in vogue.
Exactly.
Yeah. And what did you have, or maybe it's just a hashtag of like hustle and heels too, right? That was never.
Yeah, no, that was never.
Okay.
But I think maybe I hashtag that.
Yeah. I think you might.
I think
I'm just gonna go ahead and say yes.
If not, I might add it. So
Right.
Thanks.
What as you've gone through like the growth from 1,000 to 25,000 followers, and you know, I'm sure when we talked last week, you were at like 23,000 followers. So already like, you know, in a week or whatever, 2 weeks, you've added 2,000. So it's not gonna be too long before you're probably at like 50,000 followers. But as you go through the progression and the growth of followers, what are the things that you need to do in order to kind of maintain a level of like consistency in order to allow for that growth? Does that make sense? So like you're like some of the stuff that's behind the scenes of like the level of photography.
Yeah. Well, so, and I think one of the things we talked about is my Instagram isn't a sporadic, like, oh, I feel like, you know, we're sitting here, you know, we're going to take pictures. Sometimes I actually like go to dinner just to like take a picture.
Right.
Or like, you know, I'll go to an event just because I'm like, this is a great photo opportunity, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so, and I hired a social media manager. You know, I can't, so especially with as busy as I get, sometimes I can't take pictures all the time and they have to be professional. I don't post selfies, you know, it has to have that level of professionalism. So I've done that, and it's really monitoring what you're posting and making it, you really have to get dialed into kind of like what amount of everything you should be posting and then go from there. So like my social media manager, you can tell the things that he posts because they're super like business. They're like me and Michael, and we're like writing contracts, you know? And then there's like my son, and you know, I took that one, you know?
Yep.
So it's kind of just an array of things.
But so like you're really looking at, or your social media manager is looking at, okay, here's the insights. Here are like, I know that people are going to be looking at it at this time is when a lot of people, we're going to get a lot of audience and traffic.
So I do all that. And so I typically post pictures at like 6:00 p.m., you know, and there's programs that help you with that, like Later or Hootsuite.
Hootsuite, yeah.
Yep. I can never say that.
I know.
And so those sometimes I'll schedule out my posts, you know what I mean? Or sometimes I'm just like, you know, I'll just be in the middle of dinner like, oh no, I forgot to like post this thing. So like, hold on, let me grab my phone real quick.
Well, and I think that like one of the things to point out is like, it's a lot of people think of Instagram still as just what you said of like, oh, I'm just going to take a quick selfie, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, we're at dinner, I'm just going to take a picture of my food. But for those like you that are using it on a very professional level, it is a full-blown marketing plan around Instagram and social media, how you're using it and how you're leveraging it.
No, yeah, absolutely. So it's probably one of my biggest prospecting tools. And it's funny because I used to say this back when I first started, and my like mentors would be like, what are you doing for prospecting? And I'm like, social media. And they're like, but that's not prospecting.
Right.
And so now that it's become, I think everybody's starting to see it as more of a professional thing, but it's really all about building my brand. So I don't post everything with the idea of like, oh, I'm going to get a listing from this, or I'm going to get a buyer, or somebody's going to see this house. It's more like building that brand. And it's not just a real estate brand. It's a lifestyle brand. You know what I mean? It's motherhood, it's traveling, it's, you know, being a real estate agent and being fashionable. And
so you're getting then people, I mean, so it's really the difference, again, I keep going back to this, the difference between marketing and selling. You're just constantly marketing. So it makes, you're being warm to the people that you want to be warm to. So when it comes time to make a sale,
Exactly.
it's not a cold call,
I'm
so
a
to speak.
terrible salesperson. So like, I can't even, I'm not knocking anybody that does this, but I can't post the like, do you want to buy a house things? Like, it just gives me anxiety for some reason because I'm so bad at it. I think it's because I'm actually an introvert. So
That's funny. I know a lot of real estate agents that have said that they're introverts lately.
That's weird because I'm like, why did we get into this industry?
Yeah, no, totally. But so you also said something of just how you're getting, starting to get business from it. Not starting, but you're getting business. So like, are you able to quantify how much business comes from your social media?
I would say about 50%.
Okay.
And I mean, not directly like leads, like I don't get 50% like leads every day, but it's,
totally.
I get people I've done that I had in the beginning, and then I have referrals from them. So about 50% of my business started from social media.
Yeah. Well, that's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, I'm not saying there's nobody else out there that gets 50%. There's probably people that get more.
Yeah.
But the people that I've talked to, I don't know other people that are getting 50% of their business from social media, from Instagram posting.
Yeah.
Which really just takes it back to that concept of like, it is a full-on marketing machine and system.
And that's what also I was going to say, I don't know if I get really excited about it, and I guess maybe that's why I'm so into it, because I love Instagram. Like, that's like my world. So when I'm not, when I'm not posting or like looking at stuff, I'm looking for inspiration. I'm on other people's pages, I'm Googling, like I'm on Pinterest, like things that would like work better. I'm like obsessed kind of with it.
Yeah.
So, and how can I be better,
Yeah. And so like some of the pictures too, we'll go back to that for a second. Like, they're very planned pictures of like so some of the stuff that we'll do with like Denver Gents, right? And I'll post some pictures from that, and people will be like, oh, do you guys just have a photographer following you around all the time? Like, well, me personally, no. But when I'm at the Denver Gents events, like, there's a picture, there's a photographer, but you will find places and you do take professional, right?
Yeah, typically. I mean, sometimes it varies. Like I said, I have Josh, and we've been planning on going and like looking at some houses. I have a tripod, so sometimes I'll go in houses by myself and I have to like spend hours there like taking pictures by myself, and I always wonder if like the seller has a camera and he's like, what is she doing in my house?
Right. But I think there's also another way that you're leveraging this too. Like when you go to a listing appointment, is it a tool that you use when you're talking to people?
Yeah, I think it's honestly probably one of my biggest sources of leveraging my business. I mean, not everybody has 25,000 followers. And all those agents have access to the MLS, and I hear a lot of that in Denver, especially like, okay, so anybody can throw your home on MLS, But my thing is I have 25,000 followers that may not be looking at the moment, they may just be an idea in their head, and they see your home and it's perfect for them, so then they reach out to me and they're like, wait, hold on, give me some more information,
Yeah.
And it's not even just Denver. I actually have a lot of followers from Miami, New York, and I actually have a large real estate network out there too. So people that are looking for relocation, so that works as well. Yeah.
Well, and then like how many likes do you get like on average on a post?
About 1,000 to 2,000.
Yeah, somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000. So, a bit kind of what I'm hearing, and just to say it differently, when you're going to a listing presentation, one of the things that you can talk to them about is all the already high level of service that you're going to provide. But if they do a listing with you, now when you put that home on your feed, there's 25,000 sets of eyes on it. There's going to be somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000 likes on it.
Correct.
And that's just going to help them out.
No, absolutely.
Right.
I mean, that's our biggest portion of the job, is to get people through the door, to get eyes on your home.
Yeah.
Because then obviously if you have enough, attraction to it, then you'll get your offer, so.
Yeah. Well, I think that's for people that might still be thinking or wondering of, it's like, okay, is this legit as a marketing source? Like everything that you've just said has really validated that, yes, it absolutely is.
No, absolutely. I feel like it's definitely won me some listing presentations before, I definitely have to, sorry, I keep saying definitely, I have to have that competitive edge, and especially when I was at Sotheby's, I'm working with the top agents, you know what I mean? And I'm, I'm young and I'm as experienced, so it's something that I've really been able to like build off of, and people see that and they're like, wow, you know what I mean? That's something that not everybody has.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you, do you get a lot of people, now that you're at RE/MAX Urban Properties, do you get a lot of people that come over to you and try and are picking your brain on like how can they use social media
Yeah.
a little bit better?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of happened my entire career.
Yeah.
You know, so
So what advice are you giving to those people? Like, so if there's somebody that's out there, so let's just say that I'm out there and I have 400 followers on social media, right?
yeah.
Like, okay, what do I need to do to be able to start getting more followers? How to use it more to my advantage?
I think for starters, I would start off with looking for inspiration. So finding accounts that you like and kind of like thinking about, okay, does this person post a selfie? No. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
What does it look like visually and aesthetically, you know, in order, because if getting followers isn't the hard part, I guess, it's retaining followers,
Uh-huh.
you know? So you have to be like, one, posting content. And then two, I think the biggest thing is utilizing the right hashtags is important, obviously,
Mhm.
as well as liking and following people, you
Okay.
know? So you have to engage with other people. So you can't just like, it's not all about me. I mean, I respond to almost every comment
Yeah.
on my page, you know? And so it's like, you know, you reaching out, if you see somebody doing something cool, you reach out and then, you know what I mean? Then you're making that connection.
Then it's a conversation.
Exactly.
And other people on their accounts are going to see you as well.
Exactly.
You also talked really quickly there about the schematic of the page. Like there's a level of consistency
For sure.
when you look at your page. Like the color tones are going to be generally the same.
No, see, I try to do that, but I'm not really good because then I'm like, there's like presets and stuff that you can use on photo editing apps,
Okay.
but then sometimes I'm like, well, I look ugly in this preset, so I can't
Mhm.
post that. So, but
Right.
I mean, kind of the same visual feel, you know what I mean? I don't like, I wouldn't post like a picture of a piece of paper. Like that's just not gonna go with like, my page is bright and it's,
Yeah.
you know, and it's exciting and, you know, like we were just talking about, I don't post a lot of my son simply because he's 9, so he doesn't like to take good pictures, you know what I mean? So
Right.
the second that I do get a good picture of him, I'm like, great, but most of the time he's like, get off of me, Mom.
Right.
You know?
We're not taking another
Yeah.
picture. I'm over it.
Yeah.
Right. Well, is there anything else then too, like just anybody else that's looking to get started on it, other than you just kind of have to do it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think you have to make a conscious effort, like even time blocking that into your schedule or make a conscious effort to actually go out and do it. You know, I think a lot of people see it as like social media is just fun, you know. It's
Yeah.
actually a part of my business plan. It's a very large part of my business
Yeah.
plan. And you have to, you know, like you said, just go out and do it.
You're budgeting time and money
Correct.
to it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, especially now that I have a social media manager and yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it's obviously coming back to you. So that's kind of
Yeah.
it's all worth it. Anything else that you want to, add as we're sitting here talking? Whether it's about that, how people can find you. I'll of course put the, how all your info in the comments here.
Yeah. I mean, if anybody wants to know more info, I'm definitely willing to meet up and go over that with them and
Yeah.
on social media. And yeah, other than that.
Cool. Well, we'll just wrap it up with that. And again, I appreciate that you are willing to take time out of your schedule, be on here, share some of the stuff about LCs, saying way to go, Dejerae. But yeah, being able to take some time out, because I think it is really important that there's not a lot of people that are doing social media with a real game plan
Yeah.
to it like
Yeah.
you are. And that's really what I wanted to get across,
Yeah.
just that it can be a really vital
Yeah.
part of your marketing
No,
strategy.
absolutely. I try to post at least once a day, not to keep going into this, but
No.
at least once a day, and I have them planned out. I typically, Monday, I plan out all of my posts, you know?
Okay, for
Or
the
the-
week.
Yes, correct. And if I take, so like sometimes I'll have shoots with photographers. If I take 20 pictures and he sends all 20 to me, I won't post all 20 right away. You know, you
Right.
have to like strategize when's a good time in between. There's house and then there's market stats. You know, people don't want to read just words all the time. They want visuals. So it's like
Mhm.
mixing it up with visuals to words to sometimes a picture of me, you know?
Yep.
So that sort of thing.
And like I said before, you can tell when some of the drop-off rate is happening. So then that's when you can kind of, okay, this post has run its
Absolutely.
course.
Yeah.
Um,
No, totally. So I mean, like I sometimes I'll post filler pictures. It's funny because I'll have 2 visuals, but then I need to post this picture. So I'll post something. I typically post everything at 6 p.m. You know,
Okay.
that's my prime time. But like sometimes I have to get a post in between the one that I need to do. So I'll post at like 7 a.m. You'll see
Yeah.
a post, and I'm like, it's interesting. It's a
Interesting.
lot of work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that, we've really only touched you kind of scraped the surface of this a little
Yeah.
bit. So there's obviously so much more
For sure.
to it. So anybody else that has questions on Instagram, reach out to Dejerae. Like this, share this if you thought it was useful. And until next time, I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend, and let's go out and sell some homes.
See you later.
Have a great day.